least that it kind of give them, you know, back on versus going through the out, you know what I'm saying? Just say, okay, there you go. You know, it's getting like when I just didn't because they know when we talk to something, you know, it's been like 30 years in Chicago, so they were just testing us. You know what I'm saying? So it's just people know that just okay. Everybody you believe if you know you're a player, you already is temple card, then we can go from there. You know what I'm saying? Or national payment card. And do that. We feel that might be
Peace, peace, peace. Can y'all hear me now? All right, hopefully y'all can hear me now. Okay. Yeah. Okay. What about now? You still can't see me? Even on this one? No, this one just pulled up. Okay, I'm on. Word. All right, there we go. All right, we back, y'all. I don't know what happened. All right, so let's get back into it. All right, here we go. Yeah. I only got one now. All right, all right. We back on. Let's see here. All right, so the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali, Kadesh Nebi, Abdul Sharif Ali said that the Muslims of India and Egypt and Palestine had these secrets and held them back until the time appointed by Allah. Now, the Holy Quran of Mecca of Muhammad said, Surah 16, 101, 102 ayat, and we change our communication from another communication, and Allah knows best what he reveals. They said the Holy Spirit has revealed it from your Lord with truth, that it may establish those who believe and as guided and good news for those who submit. Now, of course, most Muslims will tell you that Muslim means to submit. Muslim do not mean submit. Submit is what a Muslim do, but it does not mean submit. The word Muslim or Muslim means one of peace, or to surrender in peace, right? I myself, I am a Muslim, all right, as Misrem, M-E-S-R-E-M. The word Misrem and Muslim is one and the same word, but yet one is more ancient than the other one. Muslim is the modern day name, just like Muslim is a modern day name of the quote unquote Sunnis, Arabs, all right? Misrem is the ancient Temerian Kemetic mystery order name, right? So once again, the L and the R's are interchangeable, all right? So we are Muslim, but we are even more ancient is Misrem. Misrem means one born from the Til Ra. That's what Misrem means, born from the Til Ra. Matter of fact, the ancient name for Egypt is Misrem. All right? And they tell you that where Islam comes from, to be a Muslim, or Misrem is from Misrem, which is the name of ancient Egypt. They tell you where it comes from through the name. So when you have Professor Walter Williams to say that we are the ancient Egyptians, that we are the descendants, or that we are the Egyptians, he means that we are the Misrem. We are the Muslims of ancient Temeri, the mystery order, which Noble Drew Ali called Islamism, the everlasting gospel, the world's first religious creed, moral science. That's the name that we use for it now. This old system of teaching was divinely perfected for the salvation of all men, from which Ahmed Mustafa Al-Amin ibn Abdullah, who we now call Prophet Muhammad of Arabia, revealed to his people 1400 years ago. Of course, we understand that even Prophet Muhammad is a title, just like Melchizedek, just like Christ is a title. Muhammad symbolizes the crown chakra. All right, I get to that in a little bit. But key 17 of the 101s speaks of what is our religion. The answer is Islamism. Key 18, is that a new or is that the old time religion? Answer, old time religion. So he's telling you that if he's an ancient Egyptian adept or Egyptian adept, then he's telling you that it has to be the old time religion, which is Samatawi, which means the union, that divine union, which is spoken of within the Holy Quran, Circle 7, and also within the 101s or 102s. Starting at 65, what is the devil sometimes called? The lowest self. 66, how many selves are there? 2. So see, that's the union that you have to bring back, is from these 2 to be only 1. 2, name them. Higher self, lower self. What people represent the higher self? The angels who protect the holy city of Mecca. This is the holy city of Mecca, is your crown chakra, and the people, or the angel that it speaks about is the angels of light that comes forth from the 12 pair of cranial nerves that sits around the pineal gland, which is the throne or the seat of God, also known as the throne of Asar, also known as the throne of Jesus, to be transformed into the Christ, or be transformed into Heru, or have Asar awaken into his Heruhood. All right, it also symbolizes Buddhahood, as well as also Muhammad, one worthy of praise, because at this level you are worthy of praise, because you have that golden disc around your head, as they showed you within those 15th and 16th hundreds paintings of Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci and others. All right, So it says what people represent the lower self, those who was cast out of the holy city and those who accepted their teachings. What is the higher self? The higher self is the mother of virtue. See, the higher self symbolizes the mother principle. The mother of virtue, called when the Kundalini comes up, which is the mother goddess principle, it comes up here to the pineal gland to awaken all souls. So hence is the mother of virtues. And what does it produce? The harmonies of life and breed justice, mercy, love, and right. It breeds justice, mercy, love, and right. It breeds love, true peace, freedom, and justice. That's what it does. That's love. Can the higher self pass away? No. Why? Because it is a law in man. So, the mother of virtues is the higher self, symbolizing also the holy breath, in which that awakens the Father who art in heaven, or the Father of the universe, which is Allah in man. And they become one, no longer separate, no longer, that's the divine union, that's the divine marriage that we speak about within the Bible. That's the divine marriage. So here we look at why, because it is the law in man, and said, what does the lower self breed? Hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. So when you see a Moor portraying hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms, that's a dirty Moor. Just that simple. If they're not talking about love, true peace, freedom, and justice in its actual manner, and they're not talking about the holy breath in which ties you and binds you back is one. That's what it says. It says that. Okay? It says that. Let's look at it. Let's look at it. All right, let's go to the Holy Quran, Circle 7. And it says it right in chapter. Let's look at chapter 3 here. And it says, chapter 3, Elahu lessons the unity of life. Unity now of life, the unity. See, that's the two becoming one. Let's go to 5. It says, there are two selves, the higher self and lower self. The higher self is the human spirit clothed with soul, made in the form of a law. The lower self is the cardinal self, the body of desires, is a reflection of the higher self, distorted by the murky ethers of flesh. The lower self is an illusion and will pass away. The higher self is a law in man and will not pass away. The higher self is the embodiment of truth. The lower self, truth reverses or reverse to manifest. The higher self is justice, mercy, love, and right. The lower self is what the higher self is not. The lower self breeds hatred, slander, lewdness, murder, theft, and everything that harms. The higher self is the mother of virtues and the harmonies of life. The lower self is rich in promises, but poor in blessedness and peace. It offers pleasure, joy, and satisfying gains, but gives unrest, misery, and death. That's your sexual nature that is talking about. That's the lowest self, your lust, your greed, your envy, your jealousy. If you have the truth, teach it. You ain't got to get at the next person. See, you get at the next person because that's showing your lowest self. That's what that shows. Your lowest self shows when you have to get at the next person. It gives man apples that are lovely to the eye and pleasant to the smell. Their core are full of bitterness and gall. If you would ask me what to study, I would say yourself. And if you would have studied them and then ask me what to study next, I will reply, yourselves. All right? He who knows well his lowest self knows the illusions of the world, knows of the things that pass away. And he who knows his lowest self knows Allah. So He who knows his higher self, knows Allah, knows well the things that cannot pass away. Trace, blessed is man who has made purity and love his very own. He has been ransomed from the pearls of the lower self and is himself his higher self. So, how do you reach your higher self? For most quote and speak about the higher self, but yet don't know how to reach the higher self. Well, it goes on to tell us something. If we go back to the education of Mary and Elizabeth in Zoan, Egypt, which is chapter 2, it gives us the clue on how to do that. 16, we call these sons revealers of light, but they must have the light before they can reveal the light. So you have to have the light before you can reveal the light. All right, this is why I'm seeing all this bickering going on amongst the Moorish community, because they don't have the light. You have to have the light. You have to become a revealer of the light. All right, then you can reveal the light. And you must teach your sons and set their souls on fire with love and holy zeal and make them conscious of the missions to the sons of men. And what it says in 18, it says, teach them that Allah and man are one, but through cardinal thoughts and words and deeds, man tore himself from Allah and debased himself. 19, teach that the holy breath will make them one again, restoring harmony and peace. So if you want to live Islam, instead of just saying Islamism or Islam, Islam, or Islam, Islam, what does it say? It says right here that peace, which means Islam, as we told you earlier, all right? Muslim means one of peace, or Muslim means one of peace, and Islam means peace, all right? Sarim is the ancient Egyptian name for it. Now, look, it says, teach that the holy breath will make them one again. So if you want to reach your higher self, you must do so through the holy breath. So how you know that somebody isn't living up to the teaching? Because they don't teach the holy breath science. That's more science, is the holy breath. Not bickering about the grand temple, the grand major temple. It's not about who's the so-called right grand sheik and all supreme grand sheik, national grand sheik, and all this other nonsense that Moors can't get over. But yet right here is telling you the real science is the holy breath, but you don't want to deal with that. You don't want to deal with something that's practical. You want to deal with that history shit that none of you were at. You weren't there with Prophet Noble Drew Ali in 1920s or the 1910s or teens. You wasn't there. Only thing we have is to speculate off of the information that has been left. And even that, you have to go esoteric into the information, just like we just did with the holy breath, and making and unifying the lower self and the higher self. So there's only one self, the divine self. It said that you will become your higher self. That's what we just finished reading. In 3, you would become your higher self. We just finished reading that. Right here, it says, thrice blessed is the man who has made purity and love his very own. So once you have made love and purity your very own, then you can do this right here, become your higher self. But it is through the holy breath that raises you up to reach your higher self. That's the love. That's the purity that you must have. And it must be in your heart in order to reach into the what is called the Holy Trinity, which is talking about your 3 last chakras, your throat chakra, your third eye, and your crown. So right here it says, he has been ransomed from the perils of the lower self and is himself his higher self. So now you have become Allah in man. Until then, you're not there. This is what it means. This is what Prophet Noble Drew Ali meant by the old time religion. This is the real science, Islamism, that we must learn and practice. All right? This is what we must practice. So we also understand certain things. This is from the preliminaries 13. This is from Dr. R. Graham, German Bey, Grand Sheikh, Prince of Peace, who was made in a debt by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. And he was part of the original movement in 1927. He was brought into the MSTA, or at this time, the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, by G. Cook Bey, and went with Charles Kirkman Bey after the Great Schism, or during the Great Schism. And basically, our German Bey, he ended up finding his own MSTA Incorporated, which was headquartered in Baltimore, Maryland. And it is alleged that he changed partial to parcel, right, on the Divine Constitution. In 1984, our Jermaine Bey passed form, leaving behind two other well-known leaders, one being William Porter's L, and the other being Clifford Jackson Bey. According to some Moors, the word parcel was originally there and not parcel. Parcel, was originally there and not parcel. Partial. The word parcel ties us back to land. Now, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, children, you are at home, and the European is 3,000 miles from home, and he's going to have to take with him some water. All right, so we don't have a problem with parcel. All right, but this is something that he made mention of. This is the preliminaries 13, in which that that Dr. R. Jermaine Bey put. He says, who made you? Allah. Who are you? I am spirit from the everlasting past till the never-ending days to come. Why are you spirit? Because man had two selves, the higher self and the lower self, and I proclaim the higher self. What are you? I am an Asiatic Muslim. What is your religion? Islamism, that old time religion. Why do you follow Islamism? Because it is the way of my forefathers, divinely prepared for my earthly and divine salvation. Now, how can it be your divine salvation if you're not talking about and demonstrating the signs of the holy breath? Because that's the only thing that can save you, because we're talking about soul salvation now, right? And we talk about in your earthly incarnation, we're talking about conquering your lower self. In the Nation of Islam, in the justice lesson, it tells you what must Muhammad or any Muslim do in regard to the four devils. You got the four devils. The four devils symbolizes the four lowest chakras, down from your heart, your solar plexus, your navel, and your genitals. That symbolizes the four lowest chakras, or the four devils as they were referred to as. All right. So you have to make your lower self submit to your higher self. That is why we say, this is why Muslims really say that Islam means to submit. You must make your lower self submit to your higher self, to Allah, which is in man. Because remember, Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. This is the problem that is going on. They got you thinking that Allah is far, far away. I was talking to a Muslim and he was sounding so retarded to me, I just had to get up and leave. He was like, oh no. He was like, the Sufis sound. He said, no, the Sufis are crazy. I said, for real? I said, the Sufis are crazy for saying Allah is within them? And he was like, yes. Because true Muslims believe that Allah is far, far away. Like, damn. And I said, I thought your Quran says that Allah is closer to you than your jugular vein. He is. I said, huh? Dude, you contradicting yourself here. You really contradicting yourself. You know what I'm saying? I don't think you know what you're studying. You got caught up to the fanciness of Islam, making salat 5 times a day, following your 5 pillars of faith, and having 4, wives. You know what I'm saying? I think you done got caught up into your shit. You know what I'm saying? You got to understand the real science here. Islam is a way of life. And it's peace. And you're supposed to be able to gravitate, into your higher self, become your higher self, as we just finished reading. So it says right here, what is religion? Law. Uh-oh. Religion is law. What is law? Government. Uh-oh. What do law alludes to? Land, air, and water. Wow, hold up. Land, air, and water. L-A-W. Oh, that means law. So what is religion? Religion is land, air, and water. So you done got caught up. You done got caught up into Arabism. See, this is why Moors, the high priests of Anu, Allah, Amin-Ra, do not practice Islam. We practice Islamism, which is Sufism. We understand Allah is in man, not far, far away. Sorry. Leave that Arabism over there somewhere. Now you can make salat, as I put on my website, www.dralimel-bey.com. You go to metaphysical confusion, the metaphysical end of religious confusion. You go there. I break down specifically that you can make salat, because salat is actually raising fire, that's what salat means, to raise fire, which is talking about your kundalini. That's why those 7 positions within Islam is vital, as well as because those 7 positions was also within and on the walls of ancient Kemet. Once again, this is Egyptian adepts that we're talking about here. You have to become an Egyptian adept. You have to study Samatawi. Now, Egyptian yoga has now been transferred into the Arabic system of what we now refer to as the Sanskrit teachings of India, Indo-Kush. And they do what is called the sun salutation. And you can go into the sun salutations and find almost the exact same positions that you find in Islam, and which came from off the walls of ancient Egypt. So ancient Egypt has the oldest positions for making salat, which is the raised fire. The Arabs simply put a system together from the ancient mystery school system that was the remnants of it. And you don't believe me? Go and ask the Sufis. The Sufis would tell you that Sufism comes from ancient Egypt, that it comes from the ancient mystery school of Egypt. Go ask a real Sufi. So all these Sufi orders know that they have part of the ancient mystery school of Egypt, just like the other secret societies, such as the Rosicrucians and the Freemasons. They would tell you the same thing. Oh, our religion, our secret society, our doctrine comes from Moses III. Oh, it comes from Akhenaten or Ankh-Anten. Oh, it always goes back to Egypt. The Bible even tells you that. Moses studied 40 years in the book of Acts. Where was it at? It was in Egypt. He studied 40 years in Egypt. He learned all the ways up the Egyptians. That's what it says in the book of Acts. I think it's Acts 7. It says it right there. That Moses was groomed in all the ways of the ancient Egyptians. But you have the Hebrews telling you that they're not Egyptians. Well, their science is. And I'm a Hebrew, and I can tell you that. But the word Hebrew comes from the word Heb-Heru, which means priest of light, which is talking about the priest of Heru, which is a Moor. You get it? Same thing. See, that's the problem. We're not putting these pieces of this puzzle together. So you can practice Islam in its original intent, which is to raise fire, but not in the Arab traditions. Them Arab traditions are crooked. Go and read the Hadith. They got Prophet Muhammad kissing boys on the lips. They got Prophet Muhammad being white. They got Prophet Muhammad molestation. Charges could be brought up against him right now if he was in this day and time. Oh, he had sex with Aisha at the age of 9. Or he got married to Aisha at the age of 9 and consummated the marriage at the age of 11. See, this is all the shit that they practice. That's their culture. Okay? It's not yours. Get into your own culture. Take back what is yours, because the original Arabs were you, the Cushites. They're still there in Yemen right now and throughout Saudi Arabia. And they didn't get there by no slavery. See, this is what the European Albion tells you, that everywhere you go with his black folks, oh, they got there by slavery. Oh no, them niggas got there by slavery in Brazil. That's how they all got there. This is what they tell you. Oh no, they came, oh, them Arabs had them niggas as slaves over there doing an Arab slave trade. This is how they got in, that's how they got into Saudi Arabia and throughout Kuwait and Iran and Iraq. All these are lies. We've been all over this planet. As I told you before, we've been all over the world. We've been all over the world. Before the Europeans, Albions, before the Asians, Orientals, before any of them was even on the planet Earth. We've been on every continent. This is simple. So how old is your religion? As old as Allah himself. So Islamism, the study and practice of true Islam. When the will of man and the will of Allah are one, then the resurrection is a fact. I'm going to say that again. When the will of man and the will of Allah are one, then the resurrection is a fact. For the human form was wholly given to bring man's will in tune with the will of Allah. This is the true meaning of Islam. This is the true submission of Allah, or surrenderance to Allah, which is to your higher self, which is nothing more than submitting or surrendering to your own divine nature, your own divine self. Submitting to your higher self is subduing your lower self and making them one. This is the true meaning of Islam, Islamism. In Arabic, it is called al-Islamiyah, and is a set of ideologies holding that Islam is not only a religion that which reconnects people back to being in alignment with the source of all creation, but also a political system, government. And this is what the Arabs know. This is why the Arabs run the gas stations in your neighborhood, grocery stores, and all types of things. You know what I'm saying? They run it. If you want to get incense and you know, you want to get some other good smellies, you know, some lotion, soaps, and all of that, even nowadays, they run that. They understand it's a political system, it's a government. They understand that. The Moors have to get into understanding that. We have a theocratic society, a theocratic government. That's what we're supposed to be running. But the Moors are so busy bickering with one another about who's the real supreme grand sheikh. It doesn't matter, because nobody after Emilio had a warrant of authority. And if so, prove it. I've been in this for 30 years and I ain't seen it yet. I seen everybody have their own positions and said that they had their own particular individual that came after E. Millie Ill or Edward Millie Ill Supreme Grand Sheik Edward Millie Ill, but Supreme Grand Sheik Edward Millie Ill never made anyone his successor in that regard. At least not with a warrant of authority that I know of, that I've never seen. Okay. And I came through the various camps. I came through Charles Kirkman Bey camp. That was the first camp I came through back in 1988, 89. But because of all the bickering even then, I was like, let me go finish doing my own research and studies. Then I picked it back up again in the mid-90s with my teacher, who was the secretary over the Moral Science Temple in Atlanta, Georgia. Who also was the prince in Washita, who became in 1999 the Crown Prince Sultan Tupac Bey, formerly known as Prince Ramesses Abel Bey. So I couldn't get away from the Moorish paradigm. One of the first schools I got into once I got heavy into this information back in 88 and 89. There's also a book in which that everybody was going crazy over at that time period, Who is Noble Drew Ali, in which that was written by Dr. York. And that was also, for the most, those in the conscious community, their first time hearing about Noble Drew Ali. It came through him. All right, so let's look at it. Such the moderate Muslims must return to the creed, principles, and roots of the religion of their ancient forefathers and unite socially, economically, and politically to establish unity amongst the nations of the human family. In other words, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that well, you can't do that without a government. You can't do that without a nation. So you have to be a nation first, and then you have to form government. Now, we in the Moorish Science Temple of America, or Moorish Holy Temple of Science, has the ism at the end of Islam. Ism means action, process, or practice. See, this is what we're supposed to be doing, is practicing it. Not like, you know, not like a medical practice or a law practice. You're not practicing in, you know, on you in that way. We're talking about actually application. All right. Does this alter the way of peace? Definitely not. Our third principle is light is peace. Once found within, it transforms the outer appearance of any being. On the scale of our principle, peace is the middle, providing the balance to achieve love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. So it's the middle, peace, for oneself. The Kari Hab, which is known as the priest, in Mayat and Tamari Kemet, upheld these practices. These are the priests of ancient Kemet. They was upheld. Now, Sheikh Sharif Abdul Ali, known as Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was a Tamarian adept or Egyptian adept who learned Islamism, Samatawi, during his travels abroad while in Egypt. He was taught the lesser and greater mysteries and how they apply to oneself. Once initiated and brought to the levels of a neophyte, then adept master, he came back to America to teach Islamism, the practice of inner peace, love, and knowledge of self. The very first lesson of the divine law that was handed down December the 15th, 1928, to know thyself, to learn your higher and lower self, to note your inner strength, to know the soul of man is the council chamber for manifestation of Allah, but the soul must be pure for love to live, thus killing off the body of desires that resides within the flesh, and thus the soul of man becomes the battleground between good and evil. This is the great Armageddon. This is the great jihad. Not going out here damn blowing shit up like them damn Arab Muslims. Wrong group, wrong nation, wrong people. This is the shit they do. We understand that the flesh and the soul is the battleground between good and evil, need and desire, love and lust, a conflict that cannot be told in words. That's why it can't be told in words, because it's from the inside. This is the battle. From internally, that's the battle. Right? That's the battle. Thus, we have the religion of Islamism, which is Samatawi, Sufism, Rosicrucian, Freemasonry, Astara, etc. All of these is nothing more than an ancient mystery school system. The inner struggle of man to rise from the depths of hell to the highest heights of spiritual life. Thus, the science of Islamism is to know thyself and Allah. Is that not what is said? As soon as I open the Holy Quran, circle 7, it says it right here. Holy Quran of the Moorish Holy Temple of Science, and there it is. Know yourself and your Father, God Allah. As soon as I open it. So Islamism is to know thyself and Allah, because when you know thyself, you become Allah. Oh, snap. Ooh. You see? So you get this from the Moorish literature, articles written by Prophet Noble Drali, Religious Controversy, page 8, Savior of Humanity, page 9, and What is Islam, page 10, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, the entire book, but emphasis on chapter 35, Holy Instructions of the Prophet, Religion, page 42, the Quran Questions for Moorish Americans, or questionnaire, the entire pamphlet, but emphasis on the key 17 and 18, page 2. So the ancient mysteries are also called the Herbach or Herubach, which means the light teachings, also called the inner traditions. Another name for the sacred teachings is Hakka, which is actually a name of Tawhidi. Together it is called the mysteries of the lesser, which is the lower self, Set, and the greater, higher self, Heru. Mysteries or Samatawi, Islamism or Moorish science. This is what Moorish science is. Moorish science is Islamism, which is the everlasting gospel, which is the old time religion, which is Samatawi, which is Sufism. You get it? Which is the ancient mystery school. All of this is one and the same thing. Same information, y'all. Same thing. You can get this from the 102 keys, 66 to 78, where it speaks about the higher self and lower self. You can get this from the 101s from 65 to 78. Once again, so we're talking about the Samatawi. Sama within ancient Kemet are the two lungs, the nostrils, and the trachea, representing the dichotomy of the human nature, consolidating into the breath. Singularity, awakening, or consciousness equals what we call Shu, or within the Yoruba, Ishu, Elegba, or within Hebrew, Yahshua. It's all talking about the breath of life. Within the body, Masjid Allah. Masjid Allah is known as the Temple of Allah. All right. The two lungs symbolically, Heru and Set, Ida or Ida and Pingala, Enki and Enlil, Cain and Abel, the two thieves when Jesus was being crucified, Jabril and Iblis, positive and negative, God and devil, good and evil, is prospectively polarities existing within us all. In other words, the higher self and lower self. That's all it is. So every time you keep hearing these battles between these brothers, so forth and so on, that's all it is. Once the breath, life force, singular conscious awakening has harmonized with these two opposing forces, remember, so what is the breath? Once the holy breath, the life force, singular consciousness awakens, it harmonizes with these two opposing forces, lower self and higher self, and we achieve a level of peace, Islamism. And sisters and brothers, what we was told by Noble Drew Ali that we should learn how to love instead of hate, right? The Sumerians, Babylonians, Moors, Kamal, which is Kemetans or Temerians, Olmecs, Dravidians, Abyssinians, Indo-Kushites, etc., all had a culture that was based on the principles of Semitawi, called Islamism. We understand that now because here it is, right on the walls of ancient Kemet. All right, for those that don't get a chance to check it out, you have to go and look at it on YouTube where you can see what's going on. But on the walls of ancient Kemet, you have happy, two happies, and they're tying the bow or the knot, all right, on what is this staff here. This staff actually is nothing more than your spinal column, your spinal cord. The above depicts shows the now divinity happy in due form binding the Sema symbol. That's what the Sema symbol is. The one on the left holds the symbol with a papyrus plant, which is the lower self, and the one on the right binds with a lotus flower, which is the higher self. This means that the duality of spirit and matter, temporal and transcendent, becomes unified in such a way that one's temporal nature dissolves into the transcendental reality and one's higher nature, right? This is from Egyptian Yoga by Dr. Muata Ashby. He teaches the same science. The god on the Nile in Temeri, Kemet, called Happy or Hap, he is the spirit operating through the body of the river water, which is your spinal fluid. Happy is the longest river in the world. The divine Hap was recognized to his twin aspect. As Happy flowed through the northern part of the country, he is called Hapmat, meaning Hap of the north. All right, Hap of the north, Hapmat, Hapmet, as in Muhammad. Origin of the word Muhammad. This is why I say Muhammad is a title. Some of y'all are caught up into Ahmed, Mustafa, all right, Alamin, Ibn Abdullah, all right, just like y'all caught up in Jesus when we talking about the Christ. Separate entities because you can become the Christ and you can become Muhammad. These are titles. You can become Melchizedek. These are titles, not one person. Origin of the word Muhammad. The metru nature for water is Mu. So Mu Hat Mat is the title of happy, meaning waters of the northern Nile. So hence Muhammad becomes Muhammad or Muhammad. This is why Hatmet or Muhammad also has the ancient title Sarim. Sarim becomes Salim or Salim or Islam. Sa means shrine or sanctuary of the nature, god or goddesses, and Rim means tear. So Sarim means the shrine of the tear Ra, Islam. So see, this is why it talks about submitting and surrendering, because you have to come to your higher self in order to gain peace with tears. You have to feel sorrowful for what you have done. This is what Christian speaks of, that you have to repent. This is where they get that from, that you got to repent. You got to ask Jesus for forgiveness. You got to ask God for forgiveness. You got to ask Jesus for repentance. You got to get on your knees, and this is what they're talking about. The origin of the word Islam. Thus, Sarem is a title of happy, meaning the river Hap is a shrine or sanctuary of the divine tear. Rem, which is of all set, or also being that of or set Sepatet, which is Sirius. So the Tir is from Ra, which is symbolized as Sirius here. This title, Sarim, understands that the R and L are interchangeable linguistically, is changed from Sarim to Salem, Selam, as in Winston-Salem, or Salam, Islam. This is why it says that Muhammad, waters of the northern Nile bring Sarim, Islam, to the people, right? So this is where this comes from. So Muslim breaks down to Misra. In Arabic, Hebrew is called Misr or Misram or Misram. Now, Misr is the derivative of the Coptic word Misri, which is derived, this is where you get the word misery from, hence tears again, which is derived of Misra or Misura, meaning birth of Ra. See, remember, you called a child or the children of the sun. So that is the birth of Ra when you become the children of the sun. Here is Ra on his boat, and you see the sun on top of his head with the serpent there. This is the title, Ra operating through the sun during the summer solstice. Hence, a Muslim or Muslim, which is in Arabic, is derived from the Metronetra Egyptian word Misrem. According to Ra Papyrus, which is the open up the mouth ceremony, coming by forth day and night, misnomer by E.A. Wallace Budge as the Book of the Dead. It's called Ra Papyra or Ra Papyra. People are on Miss of the Tir Remu, which comes from the eye of Ra. Now, this correlates to what Brother J. Blakely Bey said in oral statements and prophecies, right? You can get the book right here, or either this one right here, right? But what it says is the Egyptian adept Prophet Noble Drew Ali stated that Muslims are not made, they are born. Hold up, say that again. Muslims are not made, they are born. So remember, Mes, Remu, or Mesra, or Misram mean born from the tear of Ra. But where did tear come from? It comes from the eye of Ra. So you are born from the eye of Ra, which is Sirius, as we talked about just a few minutes ago. This is why the Dogon say that you come from Sirius. Get the book by Robert Temple, Sirius Mysteries. Get the book by Murray and Hope. The name of the book is The Sirius Connection. Get the Pale Fox by the Frenchman. So you were born from the eye of Ra. The eye of Ra is also Heru, which your pineal gland symbolizes. The eye is called, within the occult, the third eye. This is the star that is put up on every Christmas tree during the winter solstice. That symbolizes the illumination of your pineal gland, of the awakening of your soul principle by way of the holy breath and the mother of virtues, Kundalini, awakens the Father who art in heaven, the Father of the universe, which is your soul, Asar. So Aset awakens Asar, and that divine marriage in heavens give birth to Heru. This is the science that you have to be taught. And who is Heru? Heru, as we just said, is also a form of Ra, as well as Asar is a form of Ra. Right? On the Giza Plateau, you have the Sphinx, which is called Heru M. Arket or Harmar Arket. Harmar Arket is also another name for Habith within Freemasonry. So you thinking of Freemasonry, Harmar Biff is being a man. who just got hit in the head by the three ruffians. Jabbalon, Jabbalin, all the jump. They hit him in the head, laid him in the northeast. Is what it says. Well, Hiram-Abiff means Heru, Horus, in the horizon. That's what Hiram or Markat means. Horus in the horizon. Horus means sun, consciousness, wakefulness. It also means light, enlightenment. Heru represents the conquest of good over evil. The higher self and the lower self are aspects of the same being, both representing the conflicting aspects of the human mind. When the lower self is mastered and placed in the service of the higher self, then the resurrection is a fact. As I said earlier, this is conveyed in the Sphinx. This is why the head of the Sphinx is that of a man or a woman, and the body is that of a lion, some say a dog. Symbolic to the dog star, Sirius, or to a lion as Regulus, which is the lion constellation in the sky, which was there 12,500 years ago, or 10,500 BC. It represents the embodiment of the initiatic ideal, the infinite energy and life force of nature, symbolized by the animal body, commanded by the intuitive, intelligent, or intellect, symbolized by the human head. Right? This is why the initiation takes place between the paws of the Sphinx. Right? This is symbolic to the cross here, the horizontal, the vertical. This is why within Islam, you read about the tools of Islam that nobody heard. Nobody heard. All right. We go to chapter 4. It says, this rite of cleansing and this temple are but symbolic of the soul, which does not come with outward show, but is the temple within. This is in the 4th chapter of the Holy Quran, Circle 7, 22nd verse. So if this is within, then what are the tools that are utilized? This is the same exact tools that they say within Freemasonry, but is inside of your Holy Quran. It's inside of your Holy Quran, Circle 7. How is that? Could it be that you was taught these sciences from Freemasonry because you are the real Freemasons? Hence the reason why you wear the fez or the tarbush. Could it be? I don't know. Could it be? Well, let's look at it. Let's look at the temple. We just told you it was within, but let's look at what it says, that the temple was made. The Bible even tells you that the temple was made, that God dwells in the temple was made not by man's hands. If I'm not mistaken, that's in the book of Acts 2. All right, so let's look at it. As we say, all right, I went to the wrong one. But right here, the temple that they're talking about is within. And we get the instructions. In the Holy Quran, Circle 7, concerning the making of this temple. Of course, we know it to be Solomon's temple. Sol, Amun. Sol is Latin for, of course, what? We know that is Latin for the sun. S-O-L is the Latin for the sun. Hell, S-O-L is the same as S-O-U-L, which is your soul, your sun, which is within you. That's embedded inside of the pineal gland. One and the same. All right. My pages are sticking together. That's why it's taking me a while here to get this. Don't worry, we got it. We got it. We got it. All right, so let me see here. You got it out. The joint, when you're talking about the tools, yeah. Okay, let me see. Yeah, okay, there we go. Should be there. All right, there we go. We go to 513 then. There we go. All right, so in there, meaning of the carpenter tools. There it is. So this the meaning of the carpenter tools. All right, we'll start at 13, like the God said, and right here, these tools remind me of the ones we handled in the workshop of the mind. So see, right there, tell you where Allah in man is. It's the mind. But it can't be the lower mind, which is symbolized as the lower self. It has to be the higher mind, the higher self, which things are made of thought and where we build upon character. We use the square to measure all our lines and straighten out the crooked places of the way and make the corners of our conduct square. Hence, where we get, brother, you need to stand on your square. You need to stand on your square more. But there it is. We use the compass to draw the circle around our passions and desires to keep them in the bounds of righteousness. See, this is talking about controlling your lower self. We use the axe to cut away the knotty, useless, and ungainly parts and make the character symmetrical. We use the hammer to drive home the truth and pound it until it is a part of every part. We use the plane to smooth the rough, uneven surface of joints and block and board that go to build the temple for the truth. The chisel, line, and plummet and the saw all has their use in the workshop of the mind. And so this is how you really build. The building starts first in the mind. So you have the operative masons and you have the subjective masons or speculative masons. All right. So this is speculative, is talking about in the mind. And then this ladder with its trinity of steps, faith, hope, and love, on it we climb up to the dome of the purity of life. And on the 12-step ladder, we ascend until, this is Jacob's ladder. We ascend until we reach the pinnacles of that which life is spent to build the temple of perfected man. So you want to be perfected, you have to start with the science and power of the mind. That's how you do that. All right. So we showing you Stolen Legacy by George G. James, who spoke about the Moors and how the Moors were the custodians of the ancient mystery school system. All right. So right here, therefore, moral science, Islamism, the merging of the lower self into the higher self, the union with the divine will encourages the resurrection of the Messiah within you. Understanding, however, that the Christ consciousness prepares the adapt for Melchizedek, the King of Peace. Because remember, Jesus was called the Prince of Peace in the book of Isaiah. Emmanuel, he's known as the Prince of Peace, even in the New Testament. So, but he's made a priest, a high priest after the order of Melchizedek, who was called the King of Peace, which is talking about consciousness. Once again, the power of the mind. Then on to Metatronic consciousness, Metatron consciousness. The divine constitution with its 7 universal principles, articles of mind. Because see, the 7 principles, see, this is the thing, see? So when you have these 7 articles here, these 7 articles that you see here on the Constitution and bylaws, those 7 articles correlates to the, of course, the circle 7, but also correlates to the 7 universal principles of Tahuti, of the power of the mind, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause, and effect, and gender, representing the governing entity of man, mind, Allah in man. Man means mind, Allah as mind, hence the higher self. The Messiah, the Christos, the anointed, the divinely sent teacher or spirit, a messenger of God. The true root of the word is Egyptian. See, they even have to tell you that it's Egyptian. This is from Valencia Stratton from her book, The Celestial Ship of the North. Egyptian, Mes, a Meska, place of birth and rebirth, whence the generations and rebirth of the Messiah. The Messiahs who were, the Messiahs who were, see, it just wasn't one, who were the incarnations of the Son, were concealed, buried, and arose from the dead, and were symbolic or symbolized in the rising and the setting of the sun. Messiahship represents a cycle and was wholly dependent upon the fulfillment of the cycle of time. When the sun was elevated above the female or the moon, and the child El, Adon, Aten, or Adonai, or Imhotep, and other sun god personified, nated as Messiah, they became known as the son of the father instead of the mother. This is what Jesus meant, that at the age of 12, he had to go be about his father's business. And who he told that to? He told that to his mother, Mary. He had to go be about his father's business. Okay? All of that is symbolic. So, the word Hebrew or Hebrew equivalent is Messiah from the Tamarian word Mesu. On the other hand, Messiah. On the other hand, Mesh, meaning to give birth, son. Horus had a title called Mes, making him Heru, the son. In other words, the widow's son. From Freemasonry, Heru or Horus is the widow's son. All right? Because after the death of Osar, Set was the widow. The son of the widow was Heru. Mashiach, then is the son of Yah. In ancient Kemetic, Moses derived from the word Mesh or Masu or Mashi, also derived from the Hebrew word Mashiach, or its English transliteration, messenger. So see, we have the word Messiah in English, and it's called messenger. But see, you don't have a problem with saying messenger. I remember a few years ago, they had a problem with a woman naming her child Messiah. But if she would have said messenger, it wouldn't have been no problem. She ain't had to go through court for that. But because she wanted the child name to be Messiah, the judge said, no, you can't call it. There's only one Messiah I know, and that's Jesus the Christ. And you can't call your son that. So they actually denied her giving her child, her son, named the Messiah. A Messiah. Then she took it to court again, and they ended up giving it to her. But all of this is talking about the Melanites as being the children of the sun, or the Ra's children, or Freemasons, or Freemasons, Muslims, Misram, or the peacemakers, Muslim, by nature gods. According to Jeremiah, the foremost in his book, the Jeremiah Lectures book, and also Book of Beginnings, volume 1 and 2, he states that the name Freemason is derived from the ancient Metu Neter, free Messen, which is P-H-R-E-E, free, and then Messen, M-E-S-S-E-N, or Heru Mes. And Heru Mes is where we get Christmas, which is Christmas from, the child of the light, meaning son, children of the sun once again. So Jesus was called the Christ from the Greek Christos. This Christos comes from the Egyptian or Kemetic Temerian word Keres, which means the anointed one, or the body, or the mummified body of Osiris, which is also a title of Yasir, which is Tawhudi or Thoth, and Heru. As you see here, one who gets initiated to become the Messiah or the messenger of God gets initiated by Heru and Tawhudi. All right, Tawhudi symbolizes wisdom in this instance, and Heru symbolizes reality. That's the baptism. And this baptism happens with the crocodile fat of Sebek, which you see Heru on top of the crocodile, and Heru and Sebek becomes one and the same. You have what's called Heru Sebek. All right. And that's how you get the initiation. All right. So here we have Dr. John G. Jackson, 1972, in his book, Man. He states that the term Freemason was traced back to the ancient Kemetic Empire, Egypt. It comes from a combination of two Kemetic words, free, the sun, which means the sun, or Ra, as you see. So free and Ra means one and the same, the sun, and Mas or Mish, which is child, meaning children of the sun or child of the sun or son or and daughters of light. Hence, you being the revealers of light, as we spoke about a little bit earlier in chapter 2 of the Holy Quran, Circle 7. These two words combine to make the word Freemason. The term originated in Egypt and proved that the first Freemasons were ancient Africans. It also shows that the order originated in Africa. Frank C. Higgins also defines Freemasons as the same as the above, and he has it as Freemason from Egypt, 1923. A Freemason is supposed to be an adept or master of the ancient esoteric knowledge of the arts, sciences, mathematics, and other great aspects of learning of the old world. Freemasons have kept the ancient knowledge and ceremonies alive within their lodges. The lodges are places where Masons meet, and their lodges are filled with symbolism and are symbolic of the mystery school of the Africans and African Asiatic peoples. All right, now, this is coming from Dr. John G. Jackson from his book written in 1972, Man, God, and Civilization. Get that book. All right, so this is what we're talking about. All right, we know that the 33 degrees in the Scottish Rite symbolizes the 33 degrees of your spinal column. We know that above the blue house, which is apprentice, fellow craftsman, and master mason, which is the Blue Lodge, above that you have from the Royal Arch Mason chapter up to the Sublime Prince of the Royal Secret, right? You have 7 levels there. All right, which is part of the York Rite, which symbolizes the 7 chakras. All right, it represents the 7 chakras. Now, Freemasonry or Masonry, as veiled in the Coptic Gnostic Egyptian text, the term Freemason or Freemason meant son of light. These son of light are the same divine entities identified in the Moorish Holy Quran as the revealers of light, as I spoke about. The ancient super scientists were the ones that left the earth with codes written in astrological ideographs, sacred language, hieroglyphics or metronetra, and codified measurements and mathematical ratios, as demonstrated and hidden within the great and sacred texts of this earth. The greater Gnostics of the higher life intelligence or intellection was never lost, but veiled in code for those that were ruffians in mind. The operative science of the revealers of light are designed to teach the initiate how to press past the material boundaries to free himself or herself from the prison of matter and the will of karma, the zodiac will, which I told you The only way that can happen is if you raise Kundalini and you illuminate the last 3 pericranial nerves in your brain, then you go above what is called karma, the wheel of karma, or the zodiac. Until then, these stars has influences, these planets have influences upon you. All right. It is only until you reach the last 3 higher levels, or last 3 pericranial nerves to be illuminated, that you are able to not only go beyond the zodiac wheel, or what's called the clock of destiny, the wheel of karma, or the wheel of destiny, you also now become all of the zodiac at the same time. So you're no longer ruled by one, you are all of them. Right? So to further ascend and connect themselves to the greater universal temple as a perfect ashlar within the temple structure, under the umbrella of Moorish science, is the department currently known as masonry in its age and time. However, the masonry of today does not reflect the higher life intelligent Gnostic as that science. Ancient masonry was and is for the liberation of the spiritual man, for the flutters of flesh, not for the subjection or subjugation and suppression of the ancient wisdom to oppress the minds of the masses from self-mastery and planetary ascension. This is by Brother Z.A.L. All right. Now, that's the truth of the matter. George G. James told us this. And George G. James was a Freemason, and he died a Masonic death. They cut his neck from ear to ear with his tongue cut out. Back then, if you were a Mason and you told secrets, you had to pay with your life. Dr. George G. James in Stolen Legacy wrote that the Egyptian Mystery School, the neophyte initiations, this sophisticated system of learning was of an African origin and not indigenous to Greece or Rome, as traditional Eurocentric scholars have falsely maintained. But Plato, Aristotle, and Socrates sat directly or indirectly at the feet of the ancient of the African sages who inspired them to enlighten Europe. This is what he said. All right. Manly P. Hall, 33 degrees, Freemasonry of the ancient Egyptians. It is now generally acknowledged that the Egyptians of all the ancient peoples were the most learned in the occult science of nature. The wisest of the philosophers from other nations visited Egypt to be initiated into the sacred mysteries by the priests of Thebes, Memphis, and Hermopolis, which is the city of Hermes. In Freemasonry, its hidden meaning by George H. Steinmetz, he states regarding of the origin of moderate lodges of the name Freemason, we can, after freeing the symbolism of modern adaptation, discern in Freemasonry the outline of the teachings of the ancient mysteries of Egypt. Now I'm saying all of this because, once again, ancient Egyptian mysteries, the Moor science, was rebrought to us by Prophet Noble Drew Ali. How we know? Because he is an Egyptian adept. And he said that these secrets was kept back from us. So you get the origin and evolution of Freemasonry connected with the origin and evolution of the human race by Albert Churchward. And he reveals the same information. One scholarly Freemason named Albert Churchward, 30th degree Mason at the time of his writing, wrote extensively about Freemasonry and its African origin. He was honorable enough to reveal that the order of Freemasonry originated amongst said blacks in Africa. So see, this is why I was into all the conspiracy theories, all the Illuminati and all this shit, back in the days. You know what I'm saying? That was 30 years ago. We done graduated because we understand that this is our ancient information. And Moorish science is nothing more than Islamism, the old time religion, the everlasting gospel, the ancient Egyptian mystery school system. Here and now, that's what it is. All right. Truthfully, let it be known that there's no other group that's putting out more information than the Moors. That's just what it is. We're talking about the honorable Moors, not the dirty Moors. All right. We gotta keep that straight. All right. So He was honorable enough to reveal the order of Freemasonry originated among blacks in Africa. Matter of fact, he notes his book was written in the early in 1903. Church war research also revealed that the origin of the mythos, which is religious doctrine and Freemasonry, came from the early Africans in ancient Egypt and the Great Lake region, source of the Nile. The Pygmies were the primary man that evolved in Central Africa around the area of the source of the Nile. Church war, 1903. Church war had this to say about Africans being the original people of the human family. We say that the human family originated and or was planted in the northeast of Africa, including the source and the banks of the Nile. And it is very important to note that here that the symbology had been carried down amongst ourselves to present day. All right. So we understand that. All right. So that's all. This is all I'm going to teach for today. We're going to come on back tomorrow and continue on with the lesson plan. Hopefully y'all got something from tonight's discussion. And as we always say, continuing now for days, weeks, months, and years to come, we're moving towards our most cherished goals of health, wealth, knowledge of ourselves, protection, security, every positive, good action, all right, behavior, you know, in life. As we would say, every action, enterprise, and endeavor in which we wish to be involved is bringing increasing rewards. We have so much happiness, success, and joy and prosperity that we're able to help those along the way who are sincere. All right? We're moving closer towards the oneness of God and Goddess, that is the Father of the universe and Mother of virtues, the Holy Breath. And right, we're moving closer toward the oneness of God, Goddess, and the awakening of our inner and higher self. Right? That's what we're doing. All right, y'all. We out, y'all. Peace.